Be the change you want to see. Make a difference by giving your money a purpose, a mission to do good. Welcome to Money with Mission, where we talk to individuals, businesses, and organizations who are taking the lead and whose actions are impacting the well-being of their communities and the world at large.
Welcome back to Money with Mission. Today I have a friend of mine, Todd Sulzinger, who lives in the Bay Area. I think you live in Bay Area, right, Todd?
I do, yes.
Okay, cool. Todd is CEO of Blue Elm Investments. He's a former Silicon Valley finance executive turned real estate investor with a focus on the growing niche of mobile home park investing. His company has built the expertise to turn rundown, neglected mobile home parks into vibrant communities, increasing the availability of safe, clean, and affordable housing for the residents while offering their investors a strategic way to diversify their portfolios. Todd is also an author. He co-authored a book, Success Habits of Superachievers. Obviously, he's one, and which became a #1 Amazon bestseller. That book has secrets, tips, and inspiration to help you accelerate your business. Welcome, Todd. Good to see you.
Oh, great to see you, Felicia. Super happy to be here.
It's been a while. We haven't been able to hang around. Like 2020 sucked all the life out of traveling.
It did. I know.
Socializing.
Missed the hugs and hanging out in the bar.
No kidding. Hey, I think since we last saw each other, you got married. You were going to get married in 2020, but you ended up getting married. Tell me.
We did get married in 2020. It was going to happen in June, and obviously we had to postpone, and we didn't want to wait any longer. So we had a pop-up wedding in San Francisco. We sort of stealthily went to the Presidio in San Francisco and on a Sunday afternoon and had a COVID-safe wedding outside. So much smaller affair than we thought we were going to have originally, but still, it was a great day.
You got married. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Hey, congratulations.
Thank you.
And you are you going to do a party or something once things are calmer, or you kind of will do something, whatever?
We've talked about doing that. It's funny, as we've thought about planning that, we're still not at a place where we could even imagine like when that would be. Because we have friends on the East Coast and who live in Europe. So to really commit to tell somebody, hey, okay, we're ready, book your hotel, book your flight, everything is going to be fine. We're just not at that point to be able to make that commitment.
You want to say 6 months from now, surely everything will be good. But you're like,
right.
Yeah, that's what we were told in 2020.
Exactly.
And here we are, fourth quarter 2021, which I just wrote my newsletter and I say, oh my God, it's fourth quarter. All that fourth quarter stuff needs to happen to get ready for next year.
That's right. Crunch time.
That's and taxes. Extended taxes are due this week.
I signed mine. We signed ours yesterday. Our first return as a married couple. So that was good.
Congratulations. I still haven't got mine. I'm still getting questions on mine. I'm like, can you not get this finished for me? Anyway. Okay, so we're going to get into what Todd's doing on the show, not just our chit chatting, but it's good to talk to you. So Todd, you quit your job not that long ago, right? Has it been a year?
It's about a year and a half ago now that I left my full-time corporate job working for a medical device company here in Silicon Valley.
Okay.
And that was after a long career working for a variety of technology companies here, some when I was living out in the Sacramento area, lived in the UK for a couple of years working for a networking hardware startup. So yeah, long career in finance. Met a lot of great people, worked with some great companies, and got the real estate bug and decided to build a business around that.
Well, what made you even look at it? I mean, it sounds like your career, the things you were doing, startups, that sounds pretty exciting. I mean, you can either win or lose, I get it, but there's, it sounds exciting, and finance and that kind of thing. What made you decide, this isn't going to be the last thing I ever do in my life?
Yeah, well, I started to get interested in real estate. I just read things over time just because I was, having a finance background. I was always, really interested in investing and different ways to invest, and did like most people do and started putting money in my 401k and investing in stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, and didn't really know how to do any other kind of investing. But one of the things that I talk about in the Success Habits of Superachievers books is a story about a neighbor that I met at the first house that I bought to live in San Jose, and I met this guy, and he was just this really mild-mannered, kind of quiet guy, dressed in disheveled manner, drove kind of beat up cars. But every time we would talk, he'd say something about, "Oh, my rental's down the street. I have to go check on. Oh, yeah, I've got to drive over to Santa Cruz to look at this apartment complex." Or, "Oh, yeah, I own this strip mall." So every time I talked to him, I would just find out more about this real estate empire that he built. But again, it was like the most unassuming kind of millionaire next door type of guy.
Yeah.
And that just really started to fascinate me. Like, wow, like how did this guy, because my frame of reference was Silicon Valley and startups and working hard and IPOs and all this. And I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, this guy he's financially free. He owns investment properties all over the place, and he's not, beholden to a company, or whether they're going to get acquired, or if he's going to get laid off, or the company's going to go out of business, whatever it might be. And that really got me thinking about, could I find a way to, start to invest in real estate? And then that was kind of near the time when podcasts started to become popular. And one of the first ones I started listening to was our friends Robert Helms and Russell Gray from the Real
Hmm.
Estate Guys, who
Hmm.
actually used to be based here in Silicon Valley, where I live. And I'd been listening to their podcast for about a year, and found out after that whole time that they actually lived pretty close to where I did, and that they would host monthly meetups. So I started going to those meetups and built a relationship with them. Through that process, met people who were investing outside of where they live. And I live in California, where prices are high, returns are low. It's a very tenant-friendly state.
Yeah.
And ended up through them going out to Texas and touring properties there, and ended up buying some single-family homes in the Dallas-Fort Worth market. And then just kind of through that process, I just became more and more intrigued and fascinated about investing in real estate, and all the things that it can do for you.
It's interesting how once you start doing the investing, you start paying attention to it, and you start really getting into it. Before you start, you read, you go to stuff, you're like, oh, yeah, whatever. I mean, you're there, but once you do it, it seems like it really picks up. But I'm going to back up, because you had your career, you had your jobs that you were doing, your finance jobs, which you enjoyed, but it sounded like you didn't feel secure. And you know how a lot of people stay in their W-2 for security. And what we found out is that those usually are the least secure things. And that when you make your own money, when you figure out a way to do it for yourself, that's where your security comes in. So it's interesting to me that, you left what seems like a secure position, or secure positions, for security. Is that true?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, there is I guess there is that security, or that feel-good feeling about getting a paycheck every 2 weeks, and if you have a good job in a stable company, that can last for a long time. One of the things that I found in the startup world that I was working in, and especially in a finance role, where companies would merge, they don't need two finance teams or two HR teams or two IT teams. So oftentimes there have been a couple of situations where the company I was working for were acquired by a much bigger company, and again, kind of didn't need all of those functions that were in the existing company. Or I was working for another great company that ended up deciding to relocate all of their finance staff down to San Diego. So I was offered the chance to relocate down there, which was great. I mean, San Diego is a beautiful place to live, and the company was great, the job was great, but I didn't want to move.
Yeah.
But I didn't have a choice. The company
No.
said, you have to move, or you lose your job.
Yeah.
So that was that was when that situation happened. It was just another example to me of how things can seem like they're very secure, because again, you feel good about what you're doing in your job, and the company is doing well, but incredibly quickly, a company can go out of business, get acquired, or have some other event happen in the company that makes something that seems secure all of a sudden not be so
Not
much.
so secure. I mean, think about it today. So they wanted you to move, and you're like, I just really don't want to move. So that's ripped out from under you.
Right.
Or even today, vaccine mandates. If you really, really don't want a vaccine, and your company's saying you really, really got to get one, or you can't work here anymore, you got to make a choice, right? You got to make a choice. That seemingly secure position ain't so secure anymore unless you're going to do what somebody else tells you to do.
Yep, exactly.
all that being said, now that you're in the entrepreneur world, it's an easy piece of cake, right? You got things, everything's.
It's, I enjoy it, but it can be very difficult and challenging, especially when you're starting a company, wearing all hats. When I started, really focusing on real estate and buying properties and, modeling deals I was putting together. It's like with my finance background, that was kind of second nature to me to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Putting together webinar presentations, marketing, selling, some of those things that I wasn't as strong with or didn't have experience with, that was definitely harder.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's just been, a great learning experience, and that sense of control when you're in control of your own destiny is really a great thing.
And becoming an entrepreneur is a comfort zone expanding situation, isn't it?
Yeah, every day.
I don't like to be on video, but get on video.
Yeah.
I don't like looking at my face. Get over yourself. Look at your face. Yourself. I don't like my voice. Get over yourself. You got to talk to people
every day. Yeah.
One new thing that you got to conquer. So you're into, and you started with single family homes in your own portfolio, correct?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then you learned from Robert and Russ, the real estate guys, about syndication.
Mm-hmm.
And so you started your company, Blue Elm Investments, and now you're doing mobile home parks. Why mobile home parks? It just seems like such an icky thing to me. If I drive by mobile home parks, I'm like, ew, who would live there? And a lot of people are investing in them now. Why'd you pick that?
When I decided I wanted to build a syndication business, like many of us and our friends have done, it's like, what asset class is it going to be? And I looked at mobile home parks and apartments and groups of single family homes, self-storage, all kinds of different things. And I'd been intrigued by mobile home parks just from a lot of things I had been researching and reading, and podcasts I was listening to. Andrew Lanois, Mike Ayala, friends of ours who started Four Peaks Partners, and I started to get interested in that niche. One of the things that I liked about it from somebody putting together real estate syndications for passive investors was that it was not the same as everybody else. When I first started researching syndications and taking a lot of training, a lot of people were in the apartment business, and I didn't want to be like another apartment syndicator. So mobile home parks were something that would kind of differentiate me from other syndicators. It had some profiles that I liked from an investment standpoint, is that they're recession resistancy, the fact that it's the only asset class where there's fewer and fewer supply. The supply is decreasing every year.
Okay.
Mobile home parks they're rarely do you see them new parks being built, but oftentimes they might end up being redeveloped or shut down for one reason or another. So that was favorable from an investment standpoint. And then also they're oftentimes run by older kind of mom and pop operators, where those people might have owned the park for a long time, may not have had the capital to invest to really improve the park, or just may not have been that sophisticated an operator. And it allows somebody like myself with more experience and a good property management team, to come in and turn those parks around. So there were kind of a few things about that kind of led me in that direction. And then during that process, as I was researching different assets to look at, I started working with a mobile home park consulting company who help people like me, like new people into the business, go through the due diligence, create a turnaround plan, and manage the parks.
That's really good. Very interesting. Thank you. Money with Mission is about social impact investing. And you've talked about from the investor side and developing the parks. What if every mobile home park went away? What kind of impact would that have on our housing and on those people who actually choose to live there?
Yeah, it would have a significant impact, a significant negative impact. Something about mobile home parks that a lot of people might not know is that there's kind of people that live in the parks are in a couple different situations. They might own their own mobile home and they just rent the lot, or they might, the park might own the home and they were just renting the home from the park owner, like myself. And in those situations, they're like if the park owns the home and they're renting out a 2 or 3 bedroom mobile home, those rents are typically lower than a comparable 2 or 3 bedroom apartment would be. So
Okay.
you might have a family, maybe it's got, you might have a husband, wife, they might have a couple kids. They're trying to say, okay, do I spend $1,000 on a 2-bedroom apartment somewhere? Or might I be able to, rent a 3-bedroom mobile home for, say $800? In a situation where I have a little yard, I can pull my car right up to my house.
Hmm.
So it can be a better situation for, in terms of an alternative for people. And then for other people who own their house and they're renting just the lot from the home, again, if they've invested in that house, and again, maybe they've spent 25 to $100,000, depending on kind of the size and quality and age of a home, and they might be paying between $200 and $500 a month lot rent to again to like rent the space where their home is on. If that went away, for those people, they'd have to figure out like, where am I going to live? Do I move
Hmm.
my let's say in your example, if there were no more mobile home parks, they'd have no place to move this unless they actually bought their own piece of property and put it on there, or they just have to sell it and find some other place to live. And in many situations, they wouldn't be able to just afford a down payment on a single family stick built house. So,
Right.
so yeah, it would have a huge impact.
Do you know what usually don't ask these kind of statistic questions, but you might know the answer, what the population of the United States who lives in mobile homes?
It's really hard to say. The statistics that I have say about between 8 to 12% of people live in manufactured homes,
Okay.
and that's a combination of people that live in mobile home parks, but also people who have just their own land where they put a manufactured home on there. There's a
Okay.
lot of parts of the country where somebody might be looking at maybe they can buy a nice 3-bedroom, 2-bath mobile home for probably if it was brand new, from an entry level, maybe $40,000 to $45,000, up to over $100,000 for a much nicer, more deluxe home. So if somebody actually has a parcel of land, they might choose to buy a manufactured home and place it on their property versus hiring a contractor and going through the process of actually building a stick built home.
Right. Okay. So if back to all the mobile home parks went away, all the things you talked about, but that's going to really decrease the housing inventory. So now that increases housing prices. So even people who could afford to live in their mobile home, and now that those are all gone, I've got to now buy something or
Right.
rent something somewhere else. Those prices are going up because 8 to 10% of us who did have those now have to find a stick-built place to live. Money with Mission is a real estate and business investment company that specializes in finding projects that have the potential to give you a great return on your investment dollar and make an impact in the communities where we invest. Make a difference in your life and the lives of others. Go to moneywithmission.com to learn more. The people that live in mobile home parks, is there a particular demographic? Are they mostly blue collar workers, unemployed? What kind of people live in mobile home parks, do you think?
It's it's for the most part it's an affordable housing asset class, but it really does it really does span the globe. And here in Silicon Valley, my father-in-law lives in a mobile home park down in the south part of San Jose, and the park is beautiful. It's like paved roads, mostly new homes.
Uh-huh.
It's a 55 and over community, so you've got a
Mm-hmm.
combination of people who are retired.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I know that there's people that live in the park like one house half of the year, and they have another mobile home some other part of the country they live in half of the year. And or some people, because it's 55 and over, some people might still be working.
Uh-huh.
And the houses in that park, I think the lot rents are 1,300 to 1,500 a month, and if you
Okay.
were going to buy a home in that park, it'd be 250 to $350,000. So
Okay.
not inexpensive. So those people might have decent jobs, but just choose to live in a mobile home, or
Okay.
often it's retirees.
Okay.
In the parks that I own and manage, it's working class people. People
Okay.
working, construction, manufacturing, retail. Those kind of jobs who again are kind of trying to make that decision between do I go live in an apartment somewhere, or might I have a place that's combination of less expensive and might be a little more spacious than a
Mhm.
comparably priced apartment would be.
So then to me, there is a social impact to having mobile home parks and to having people that care about their mobile home park, making it a place where people want to live. It's like one of our other friends, Sepp, who buys neighborhoods and improves the entire neighborhood. Same principle with buying a mobile home park.
Right.
You improve the park, which improves the lives of the people that live there and brings more people who want to live there, increasing the value to investors. It's a very nice way to have that social impact and get a return on your investment.
Yeah, and the thing that just kills me sometimes is they were always talking about this affordable housing crisis, right? That's the cost of construction makes it that new builders aren't building a lot of entry-level single-family homes or B or C class apartments in different parts of the country, again, just because they can make more money. Maybe from selling a higher priced home with bigger option packages, or a more deluxe like A-class apartment. But a lot of the mobile home parks that I look at to potentially purchase, or I'm just aware of just because I'm in this business, there are probably I would say hundreds of thousands of vacant lots within existing mobile homes, or vacant homes that just need to be rehabbed to be able to be rented out to people. And a lot of the reason why they're not invested in is a lot of the capital just isn't there from the older owners. You might find a mobile home park where there's 50 spaces and there's 20 vacant homes, and somebody might say, like, how can that person not just fix all those homes up and rent them out? And you think, okay, well, if it's going to cost $10,000 a piece to rent them out, that'd be $200,000. And then you might think, okay, this person's in their 60s, 70s, 80s. Do maybe they don't have the $200,000. They don't want to put themselves more into debt to be able to fund that. So, the houses just don't get rehabbed. And then over time, the park doesn't look as nice. But from a ability for investors to come in and fix those homes up and fill in those parks, I think it just can make a huge dent into creating affordable housing that's not otherwise going to be created.
It's very interesting. And those folks that own it already, they own it. They're not paying any kind of bills. They're just taking the income from it and not putting it back into it. Interesting.
Yeah. And then again, they just might not, if they're at that age, the park might be paid for. It's given them enough cash flow that they can survive. But if somebody came to them and said, hey, why don't you buy all these new homes and your ROI will be XYZ over X% over 5 years, they might look at it and think, well, do I really want to do that and go through that hassle and get into debt? And it's just easier for them just to keep the park as is. But the downside is that the park can sometimes then fall into disrepair, doesn't look as nice, and then that kind of continues the stigma that exists around mobile home parks. Nice. That it does take new investment to really make them a lot better.
In what states do you own mobile home parks now?
Georgia and Arkansas and California.
Okay. All right. So distance investing, you have your management teams, you put your teams in place, you got all that going. You're having an impact by giving and providing affordable housing in nice and safe neighborhoods. I really like it a lot. You wrote this book with a whole bunch of people I also know, Success Habits. And your story is about you and what we just talked about, your transition, your decisions, and how you got to where you are today, and the habits that you developed to get there. For you guys want to know how Todd did it and how many other authors are in that book? 30,
there's about 80 of us in there.
Oh my gosh, that's a big one.
Yeah, some real estate investors and other, people like Phil Collins from Def Leppard, Todd Sulzinger, former Major League Baseball player, and then some other personal development icons like Brian Tracy and Dennis Waitley and Darren Hardy. Some of my favorites also are contributors in the book.
Is Les Brown in this one?
Yes, Les is in this one. Yes.
So I didn't tell you, and I'll tell everybody now. I'm in a book with Les Brown called Ignite the Hunger in You. And that's going to be coming out early December. So
fantastic! You got to get that. Yeah, Les is great. So
it's amazing. So to get more about Todd's specific chapter, you guys can go to successhabits@moneywithmission.com. And when you go there, we'll get you in touch with Todd. You'll be connected with him so you can learn more about what he's doing. And if you're interested, learn more about investing in mobile home parks. We need more affordable housing. I don't think anybody
Absolutely.
can argue with that. And, maybe in California, it seems like there's not land, because it does seem like there's no land in California, but living in Oklahoma, there's a lot of land for people to put some mobile home parks and some affordable housing. It doesn't all have to be gigantic skyscrapers or just ugly apartments.
Yeah, yeah,
You can do nice parks with land, and people have actually a house where they can come and live in. So success habits at moneywithmission.com to get Todd's chapter. And if you talk to Todd, I'm sure he can tell you how to get the book too. Maybe you should just go ahead and say, if you want to get the book, do this.
Yeah, so if you want to get the book, please reach out. My email address is Todd, Todd, at blueelminvestments.com.
There you go. That will get you a full copy so you can have everybody's story and build yourself some amazing success habits.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Todd, so much. I really appreciate you
thanks,
coming
Felicia.
on. It was
really
fun.
great catching up,
fun.
and honored to be on your show. Thank you.
I love it. Thanks a lot. We'll talk to you later.
All right, take care.
Okay, bye.
You've been listening to Money with Mission. There are projects happening right now where you can make a great return while positively impacting the lives of others. To learn more about today's guest or to download 7 steps to building resilient wealth for women, visit www.moneywithmission.com.
I hope you enjoyed the interview and are inspired to give your money a mission. Until next time, send your investment dollars into the world to bring you a financial return and improve the lives of others.